let's learn some words that you can put before nouns to be more specific about what noun we're talking about. For example, we already know how to say la cosa, meaning the thing, and una cosa for a thing. But what if we want to point out this thing or that thing specifically? We already learned the word eso to mean that. Now, you've been learning that every noun in Spanish is either masculine or feminine, but the word eso is not. And that's because eso is an abstract word representing the whole idea of something without being too specific as to a grammatical noun that it would represent. So this is a really weird thing that happens in Spanish. Again, there are no nouns that are neuter in Spanish, but there are a couple of pronouns that are eso and esto, which don't have a gender. The word esto means this in the same way that eso means that. So, for example, we haven't done this. No hemos hecho esto. These two words, eso and esto, don't have a gender because you wouldn't use them to refer to something specific like el lugar or la cosa. Instead, you'd use these words to refer to something more general. For example, if I said, "Would you hang out on this day at my house?" you might answer, "That would be nice." But what does the that refer to? Does it refer to the day or the house? No, it just refers to the general idea. That would be nice. Now, be careful not to fall into the trap of thinking that abstract ideas in general are all going to be neuter and non-gendered. Actually, even ideas are gendered when the nouns themselves are named. Even the word idea has a gender in Spanish. It's feminine, as does the word plan, which is masculine. So, for example, if I referred to everything that I'm talking about as an idea, I would have to refer to it as feminine. Or if I talked about this whole idea as a plan, I would have to refer to it as masculine. The only situation in which you use gender-neutral pronouns like esto and eso is when you're talking about the idea of something without using a specific noun. If I used idea or plan, I would have to use a feminine or masculine noun or pronoun. So, in a nutshell, eso is used when no noun is named. If you want to be specific, however, you'll use a gendered pronoun. For example, if I mentioned a specific place for hanging out, and if you were to say, "That place would be nice," you couldn't use eso. Instead, you'd use the word ese. Or if I said, "Do you like that thing?" To say that thing, I would use the word esa. So that neuter is eso. That feminine is esa, and that masculine ends with an e, so it's ese. Let's build a memory palace scene for this. Imagine that you're at a lake, and you're staring into the water, wondering what might be swimming in those depths. But then off in the distance, you see 3 playing cards that are floating on the surface of the water. And you can see that all 3 of them are aces. The one in the middle is eso, the word we already know. But the one to its left is esa. So it ends with an A, like so many feminine nouns and pronouns in Spanish. And the one to the right is ese. Maybe it ends with the letter E because it's on the east side of the lake. Ese. But then you look down at your feet, and you realize that right here in front of you, there's a nest of Easter eggs. They're close up on the shore. You reach down, and there are 3 eggs total, so you can't pick them all up. But you hold the left one in your left hand, and the right one in your right hand. These Easter eggs have names. The one on the left is called an esta egg, and the one on the right is the este egg. And then the one in the middle that you just left in front of you is esto. All 6 of these words that you've learned in this scene can be easily confused with each other if you don't use this memory palace scene. So the 3 words that are close up, the words that sound kind of like Easter, all mean this. That's very different from the that on the lake. So very generally speaking, we use words that mean this for items that are close to us, for example, eggs that you're holding in your hands right in front of your face, but we use words like that for items that are far away, like some aces floating on a lake in the distance. So remember that the words close up are the Easter eggs, meaning this, and those represent the words esta, esto, and este. And the aces are far away, representing the words esa, eso, and ese, and those all mean that. Now, really quickly, let's make sure that you can remember this. So, how would you say that as a masculine word? That's ese. How would you say this as a neuter word? That's esto. And then what's the word for this that's feminine? That's esta. And then what's the word for that that's feminine? That would be esa. Your first assignment today is to draw this scene from memory and to make sure that you can keep all 6 of these words straight. For the nerds, these pronouns are in a group that we call demonstrative pronouns because you're using them to demonstrate this or that, almost as if you're pointing at an item. Now, once again, the words in the middle, esto and eso, don't refer to a specific noun. You use them all by themselves to refer to the general idea of something. Let's say you're reading an article, and it mentions an event or a party that might be interesting to go to. So you might comment out loud, "Hey, this sounds like fun." In that situation, you'll probably use the word esto. But of course, if you want to be specific about a noun, such as event, which is masculine, or party, which is feminine, you'll use either este or esta. Now let's look at a case where you'd use esta instead of esto. Let's say that you say this, but you're clearly referring to a house. As we'll learn later today, house in Spanish is a feminine noun. In English, you might say, "This one is my favorite." In Spanish, we don't say this one. You just leave off the word one and simply say esta. This one is my favorite. Esta es my favorite. But what's really fun is that you can use these gendered words right before a noun. Of course, the gender has to match the noun. For example, that place is ese lugar. This thing is esta cosa. Let's do a mini quiz. How would you say that thing? That's esa cosa. How about this place? That's este lugar. How about this thing? Esta cosa. Now be careful about being tempted to put the words eso and esto before a noun the way that we're doing it with these other words. Eso and esto can only ever be used by themselves, not referring to a specific noun. All right, let's try some actual sentence contexts. We go to that place. Vamos a ese lugar. He is going to go to this place. Va a ir a este lugar. That thing was here at this place. Esa cosa estaba aquí en este lugar. Here's a really tricky one. I want this thing to be my friends. Yo quiero que esta cosa sea de mi amigo. Before going on, make sure you have all the items in this video clearly laid out in your mind. Remember all 6 words in the scene, and remember that the feminine and masculine ones can be used to replace or accompany a feminine or masculine noun.